lawsuits against her.
Trump is signing more executive orders. Let's see what it is.
Companies, and frankly, very violent and very bad to our airlines. I've gotten calls from the heads of airlines saying they stop in Europe and they're getting charged all sorts of taxes that they never even heard of. They stop and they're getting fined and charged
Oh, I've been guessing this. I said it once. I thought it would be Starmer, but the French president Macron came by, and I said when they stopped by, he announces tariffs on them. So let's see.
They do it only with American companies. They're not doing it to other countries. So we're stopping it. And we have another thing. We have another step to go. And if they don't shape up, as an example, Apple has had to pay like $17 billion in a lawsuit that nobody thought was worth anything.
From Europe.
And I won't get into the judge or the decision or how the decision was arrived, but I'm pretty good at this stuff, and I think it's disgraceful. And Google's being sued, Facebook's being sued, and
everyone's
many
being
others
sued.
are being sued by their so-called government, if you call it a government, EU, and they don't treat us right. They don't treat us right as a country. So we're going to protect our companies. We have to protect our companies. So we're not going to have any companies left anymore. I also want to thank Apple, though, for
$500 billion.
They're going to invest $500 billion in our country. That's the biggest investment anybody's probably made to this date. And they're going to do it very quickly, and that's because of tariffs. They don't want to pay the tariffs, and they feel very strongly about the country. Now, they wouldn't have done it without us. Without the Trump administration, they wouldn't have done it. But they feel very strongly about the direction of the country. The polls have shown that, too. The polls are coming out showing direction of the company is of the country is the best they've ever seen, actually. Best they've ever seen. So I just want to thank Tim Cook and Apple for...
Yeah, but it is interesting how they kind of had to not force him, but Trump had to negotiate with Apple just to come here and drop $500 billion when it's an American company?
The confidence, $500 billion. That's the biggest
B with the
investment
B.
anyone
Billion with the
has
B.
made in a short period of time.
Mr. President, have you spoken today with the House Republican holdouts who
Yeah.
said they would not be supporting the budget resolution?
Well, I'm not...
Yeah, I heard about the budget. Thomas Massey wasn't in favor of it. I don't think I'm a favor. Actually, I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Involved in that. They know what I want, and the Senate knows what I want, too. And the Senate's got a bill that's very strong, having to do with the taxes, because the taxes is what's bringing all these companies in. So, and without it, by the way, you'd have to double your own taxes. Everybody would be doubled up, and you'd have the biggest tax increase ever. So the House has a bill, and the Senate has a bill, and I'm looking at them both, and I'll make decisions. But I don't know where they are in the vote. I know the Senate's doing very well, and the House is doing very well, but each one of them has things that I like. So we'll see if we can come together.
Mr. President, can you clarify, hopefully once and for all, what your expectations are with this email to federal employees? What are you going to use that information for? And do you see it as...
Oh, yeah. He has to clarify that because they asked Caroline Leavitt earlier, and she couldn't really clarify. She said, they should refer to their higher-ups, like their department heads.
Voluntary, like OPM has said, or mandatory?
Yeah, well, it's somewhat voluntary, but it's also, if you don't answer, I guess you get fired. What it really
I'm
is,
still lost on that.
what it is do people exist? We have this massive government with millions of people, and nobody knows who's working for the government, who's not. So what they're doing is they're sending out a letter to everybody, and they're saying, what were the things you did last week? I guess they ask for 5. And if people are working, it's easy. I could tell you 5 things I did last week. I could tell you 5 things I did 6 weeks ago, right? If they're there and they're working, they're able to say they did 5 things during work. And that means they're working and they're with us and they have no further obligation. If they're not, it could be there's no such person. It could be that the person's no longer working. They're no longer living at that address. They may be...
Could be a scam. Could be a scam. Could be a scam. Could be money laundering. Could be anything.
moved. Maybe they moved to a different...
Why is it such a big deal? Just write a couple things. You know, in regular life, when your boss asks you, hey, what'd you do? You tell them.
country, or maybe the person doesn't exist. And we then take that person off the payroll, and we save a lot of money by doing that. But that's one of the only ways.
I just don't understand. Like, I just don't understand why it's so difficult or why it bothers people so much, just to send an email out with 5 things on it that you did. You know, I logged into my portal. I made sure with my higher ups I was doing what I was supposed to. I contacted this. Like, it's not that hard. You can do 5 things.
I think it's a very smart thing, and it says if you don't answer, essentially, you know, there's a penalty to pay. Like, that's the end of the job.
Well, Musk has said that. The order itself doesn't say that. I think that's part of the confusion. Is he speaking for you when he says you'll be terminated?
Yeah, everybody speaks for me. I'm the one. I'll take responsibility. You know the old statement, the buck stops here, right? Famous statement. Well, I can say the same thing. The buck stops here. No, we have to find out if people are getting paid and they're not working. And, you know, they have a problem.
I want to know that because there was such an uprise when he said you have to come to work back into the office.
Let's say they have another job, and then they write in false statements. It's a big problem if they write in false statements. They may be working for somebody else but getting paid by the U.S. government, and that would mean that they're not allowed to be doing that. You know, they're not allowed to be working for us and be working for somebody else. We're paying them a lot of money. You know, we're paying them. So we'll see. That solves that problem. Most people aren't willing to say that, you know, we're doing this, and this for the U.S. government, and yet they're at another job, because that's a big problem for them if they do that. So in some cases, they're not writing back. And if they don't write back, they end up eventually losing their job. We give them extensions. But,
I do not.
You know, that was something we thought about a long time ago. We give them extensions, but we'll see. We have to make sure, number one, that we have people, number two, that they're working, and number two, they're working for us, not for another company.
Is it true that President Zelensky is coming on Friday to meet with you? And is the
Oh yeah, I heard they actually agreed on that $500 billion minerals deal, and the kicker is that U.S. isn't even providing security guarantees. That's strictly for repayment of the money we gave. So that's pretty wild.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that he's coming on Friday. Certainly, it's okay with me if he'd like to, and he would like to sign it together with me. And I understand that's a big deal, very big deal. And I think the American people.
I'll be streaming that. That's gonna be interesting. Is Zelensky gonna step down? Because I heard that was part of the agreement. He signed the $500 billion, so that means ceasefire is imminent, right?
People, even if you look at polling, they're very happy because, you know, Biden was throwing money around like it's cotton candy, and it's a very big deal. Look, it could be $1 trillion deal, it could be whatever, but it's rare earths and other things.
Yeah, I heard it also has to do with port profits or something with the ports. We get the ports. I don't know. We have to wait for the finalized deal for that.
Spending hundreds of billions of dollars on Ukraine and Russia fighting.
Russia.
A war that should have never, ever happened. That's a war that would have never happened if I were president. And it didn't happen for 4 years. People say, how do we know that? It didn't happen for 4 years. Would have never happened. And nevertheless, this guy went into this situation and he spent money like nobody's ever seen. $350 billion. The other thing that we don't like is that Europe has spent $100 billion. We've spent $350 billion. Europe gets their money.
I heard
back they spent.
When Macron came the other day, he tried to correct Trump. I don't know who's correct, but Trump throws out these crazy figures.
And we just gave him, whether it's 300 or 350 billion, nobody really knows. They can't even tell me the answer to that. But it means probably more than that. So what we're doing is now we're saying, look, we want to be secured. We want to get that money back. We're helping a country through a very, very big problem, a problem like very few people have had. Shouldn't have had this problem because it shouldn't have happened, but it did happen. So we have to straighten it out. But the American taxpayer now is going to get their money back plus.
Let's go.
Yesterday with Emmanuel Macron,
so are we going to get those $5,000 checks? Or are we going to get the profits off that? What goes on now?
I guess it said that that's actually unacceptable to them. What's real here?
That's not what I was told. But you're going to need some form of peacekeeping. So something will be done that's going to be satisfactory to everybody. We need peacekeeping too.
Any situation
it's
where
actually
American troops involved?
It's actually something I did discuss, but a form of peacekeeping that's acceptable to everybody, ultimately we'll be able to agree on something, I'm sure.
With Ukraine and this mineral deal, what does Ukraine get in return, Mr. President?
$350 billion and lots of equipment, military equipment, and the right
$350 billion, which they probably already spent and wasted and laundered, and military equipment. Nice.
to fight on, and originally the right to fight. Look, Ukraine, I will say, they're very brave and they're good soldiers, but without the United States and its money and its military equipment, this war would have been over in a very short period of time. In fact, I was the one that gave the javelins. You remember the?
I remember that.
javelins?
I remember
That
that.
was me. That wasn't Obama. It wasn't Biden. It wasn't.
That made a
anybody
big
else. It was
difference.
me. And they wiped out a lot of tanks with
Deterrence.
those javelins. And the expression was that Obama gave sheets and I gave the javelins. That was a big deal at the time. It wiped out. That was the beginning when people said, "Wow, that's something." Well, that was American equipment. Without American equipment, this war would have been over very quickly, and American money too. I mean, a lot of money.
Mr. President.
Yeah, $350 billion of taxpayer money. Imagine what 350 billion, dude. We could have built 2 California trains. We could have built a bunch of bridges, highways, a new monument, hotels.
That war fighting equipment and the ammunition, that's sustained going forward for Ukraine, and how long is it sustained?
Well, it could go forward for a while, and maybe until we have a deal with Russia. Look, we need to have a deal with Russia, otherwise it's going to continue.
The
But now
leverage
when
builds. The leverage builds. Now he's gonna get Russia on the table.
Americans put up their money, the taxpayer money, and the president approves it. We're getting our money back in some form. But it could go on for a while, or it could be settled quickly. I think it's going to be settled quickly. I spoke with President Putin. I think he wants to settle it, and wants to get on with life. It's horrible. What's happening horrible. Thousands of soldiers a week are being killed, and others too, but especially on the battlefield. Thousands a week are being killed, and we want that to end.
When you spoke to, Mr. President, when you spoke to
Brian?
Yes, okay. Real quickly, Carolyn Levitt, your press secretary, sent an earthquake through that briefing room earlier today announcing that the WHCA would not have any control over placing media in the seats, the briefing room. Just want to get your thoughts on that. And also on Air Force One, it's trending on X. People are talking about it. Get your thoughts.
Well, we're going to be.
I don't know. I don't
downplaying
understand the whole beef with Air Force One. What did he do? He kicked out some reporter or something? I never really got that.
shots. As you know, we won that lawsuit right there. See the Gulf of America, which is a beautiful name. Most people agree. I don't know. It's, AP has been terrible. Look, I think they're
Yeah,
radical
he
left.
literally brought out a sign that says Gulf of America. Is that RFK behind him?
I think they're third-rate reporters. I know the specific young lady that works on the account is terrible. She's a radical left lunatic, as far as I'm concerned. They don't treat us fairly. That's number one. And number two, they had no right to do that. This is the Gulf of America. And if you look at that shoreline, look at that shoreline. Look, from Florida, well, most of it is, it's called America. And,
Dude, this is crazy. It's such a weird thing to watch. It's just fun. Who cares what the name is, though? Look at that
vast
coastline.
majority, like big numbers. So I'm just admiring it as I look at it.
Jesus, dude.
I'm getting teary-eyed, but I don't want you to say Trump broke down and started crying. No, how beautiful is that? Look at the shoreline. Look at that.
Well,
That's
can I-
America.
Can I shift our attention to Canada? real
Yes.
quick?
It's America.
I spent some time with two government officials from Canada. I was asking them how realistic is it that Canada would be the 51st state?
Yeah.
And they told me there is a path. Alberta is first. And if they sign
Yes,
on, it's-
yes, I heard this because I've been keeping up with Canada news, and there was something they said where if Mark Carney becomes president, they're looking to secede from Canada. So I'm like, dude, it might actually happen, and it's not that Trump is forcing them, but they don't want to be. I don't know how to. I forgot what she said. The premier of that province was saying something how they had to pay a certain fee or tax, or they're getting held back by the government policies. So that province of Canada would be willing to join America if Mark Carney gets elected. That's wild.
Saskatchewan would follow, and then you go west to British Columbia. There is a movement in Canada to join us. Want to get your thoughts on
That's
that?
wild. Are you serious? Like, Trump's not even forcing it. What? Is this real? Where's my Canadian followers? They go crazy. I'm gonna ask later during the Canadian debates.
And how that's perceived.
So it's true. Thank you, Brian. It's true. A lot of people in Canada are liking becoming our beautiful, cherished 51st state. They'll have to pay much lower taxes. They'll have the ultimate security. You know, they don't pay very much for security right now because they rely on us, which is really unfair to us. They make cars that we could make, and they send them back into the United States. They make a lot of things, including the sending of oil and everything. We don't need their oil. We don't need their lumber. In fact, we're going to be freeing up, and I've asked Howard Lutnick to get that done with Lee and everybody, Lee Zeldin, environmental. We're freeing up our forests. We're going to be able to take down trees. Right now, you know, we're so restricted environmentally. We're going to be freeing it up with an emergency order. We have an emergency order, and we're going to be freeing up our forests. We have more forests than almost anybody, and great lumber, great
Sounds like we have enough of everything, according to Trump.
trees. We don't need anybody's trees. We don't need trees from
I don't know how accurate that is, but according to Trump, we have an abundance of everything.
Canada or anybody else. In fact, we have to put the slits, as they call them, the area, you know, 50, 60-yard area in between areas of trees. It stops the fires. And frankly, California should have been doing that for years. It's almost getting late. They're going to run out of forests the way they're going. What a shame. And by the way, the water is flowing in California. I hope you people have seen it. But the water is flowing. Do you have a picture of that? I'd hold it up. Do you have a picture of that? Get a picture of it, please.
I want a picture.
You know, we had a little skirmish in California. I can't believe we had to do that. But we opened up the water in California. The water was flowing into a place called the Pacific Ocean, which for the Pacific Ocean is only a drop. But for us, it's more water than we can use in California. So I'll get you some photographs, but it's a beautiful sight. The water is flowing in California. Beautiful water from the Pacific Northwest and beyond. And it flows down, and instead of being routed out to the Pacific Ocean, and this has been going on for 20 years more in order to take care of...
I can't think right now. I'm still thinking about what he just said. The reporter said there's a movement in Alberta, Canada, to secede from Canada.
A certain species of fish, which wasn't doing very well without water, I can tell you. So that's a big deal. It's like not reported. It's incredible. But California has a lot of water. That's going to take care of farmers. It's going to wetten up the land, and it's going to go all the way
Let's
down to
wetten up
Los
the
Angeles.
land. Let's get it
where
moist.
They have curfews on water, where they have all sorts of blocks on water. You can only use so much. We're going to put until just recently, they were going to put a
limit?
a number of gallons per person
Yeah, I
living
heard.
in a house in Beverly Hills.
I heard about
Water.
that.
You're not going to have that problem anymore. Do you have a picture?
I'm in
Let me just see
California.
what
I know about
looks
that.
like.
Oh, let's see the picture.
How
Let's see the
beautiful
water.
is that? Look at that beautiful water flowing. That's coming in the dikes and other means of transportation.
There we go.
Environmental problem with clean water. If this water were there, you wouldn't have had those fires.
Yo, Ner, I just
You had
thought about
sprinklers.
something.
They make people put sprinklers in the ceiling of a home, and they had no water in them.
You know, there was
With this, they would have had a lot of water in them. They would have all been full. That would have had you would have had
You
a
gotta
whole
stream it.
different deal down
Yeah.
there. You probably wouldn't have
Yeah,
had
that's
a
true. I
fire,
haven't
but if
been
it
in that
was, it
area.
would have been small, would have been put out. You had the fire hydrants not working in California. So it's a beautiful site. These are canals that were built. These were all built. And you saw them for years. They were empty.
They
Concrete.
were.
They call them the
They were. I drove by all the time. Not recently, but it's been empty. No water's been flowing. When I was younger, it's like a vivid memory. I always used to see that because we have family that lives up in Fresno. We drive from LA to Fresno, and it's like, yeah, I don't know how to explain it. We used to just always look at it. Me and my brother like, oh, look at that water. That's so sick. Imagine if it was a roller coaster. And it just
V-shapes
stopped
or
flowing at
the
one point.
half pipes. And they're shaped different forms, but and they rush down through the farm areas where the farmers can take it and down to Los Angeles. And they were sitting empty for years.
Yeah, that's why up near Fresno is like a lot of farms. It's the Central California, so the water like flows from up there all the way down to Los Angeles.
Now look at that. Look at that way it looked. It wasn't easy. We had to be very unfriendly to get into those areas. We opened it up.
Mr. President.
I essentially attacked California. Can you believe it? I attacked.
True, it's
I
true.
attacked California. Let's go.
Oh,
At the
here,
outset of your
Pauly Bear
administration,
just
sir,
uploaded a
you
new
committed
video.
to ending the weaponization of government, to holding those accountable who participated in the weaponization of government.
Hold it. This is a good one. Is everybody listening? Deranged Jack Smith. We're going to call it the Deranged Jack Smith.
Are you ready,
signing,
Jack Smith?
Or Bill? Go ahead.
One law
Jack
firm
Smith was on offense for a couple years, but now he's gonna have to go on defense.
that provided pro bono legal services to the special counsel's office under Jack Smith's leadership was Covington and Burling. As a result of those actions, we're now going to be suspending and putting under review the security clearances for the attorneys and employees at that firm who worked with Jack Smith's team. And we're going to continue holding the people who were responsible for the weaponization of government and who supported it accountable for what they did.
And you'll be doing this with other firms as time goes by, right?
We're looking at
Dude, so the people that attack Trump are slowly getting their security clearances removed. He's already gone John Bolton, Biden, because he was old and he doesn't need anything. Bill Barr. There's been a couple of people he's already revoked their security clearance.
sort of the whole panoply of options.
The weaponization of our system by law firms, even pro bono work they're doing just in order to clog up government, stop government. And nobody
Terrible
knows about it
news
more than me.
for Jack Smith.
And hopefully that'll never happen again.
So the Covington and Burlington, is that?
Covington and Burlington.
Burlington Coat Factory?
Mr. President, may I ask you a question about Europe? So long term, do you plan to maintain the number of U.S. troops
Wait, I just
stationed?
want to savor this one, please. Who would like
What a
this pen?
savage.
I'll take
Hey, why don't you send it to
He
Jack
let her
Smith?
talk for like 30 seconds and he's like, wait. Wait.
A deranged person.
Mr. President, what do you say to people who worry that targeting an individual firm or individuals who, aren't Jack Smith for
Excuse
his
me.
actions?
I've been targeted for 4 years.
Absolutely.
Longer than that.
Lawfare should never be allowed. Never.
So you don't tell me about
It's a
targeting.
democracy, right? Our democracy falls, we become a banana republic.
I was the target of corrupt
How you doing,
politicians for 4 years. and
QT00B?
then 4 years after that.
Everything good with you?
So don't talk to me about targeting. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President, there are approximately 2 million federal employees right now. By the end of your term, what do you expect that number
Yeah.
to be? What would you
Imagine how much money was wasted in court, how much taxpayer money was wasted in court. You include like Russia, which was proven false. There's been so much taxpayer waste.
like that number?
Well, it'll be lower, but I can't tell you.
Constitutional
Everybody knows I
republic.
ran on downsizing government, but making government better. I ran on tariffs and making our country rich, and that's what's going to do. We're going to be doing something else that's going to be very, very good. We're going to be selling a gold card. You have a green card. This is a gold card.
What the heck is a gold card?
We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million, and
What? What?
that's going to give you green card privileges plus. It's going to be a route to citizenship.
What a great
And
idea.
wealthy people will
What a
become-
great idea. Oh my god, that's gonna make so much money. $5 million per citizen to get a gold card instead of a green card. That is beautiful.
Coming into our country by buying this card, they'll be wealthy, and they'll be successful, and they'll be spending a lot of money and paying a lot
Oh,
of taxes
baby.
and employing a lot of people. And we think it's going to be extremely successful. Never been done before or anything like this, but it's something that we're going to be putting out over the next, would you say 2 weeks, Howard? You want to
2
say a
weeks.
couple
That's
of words? Let's go?
wild.
Mr.
Sure.
President, are there
Wait a
any
minute.
requirements
I've never heard
that you
anything
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
So
Go
the
ahead.
EB5 program
EB5.
was really, you lend some money, but it was full of nonsense, make-believe, and fraud, and it was a way to get a green card that was low-priced. So the president said, rather than having this sort of ridiculous EB-5 program. We're going to end the EB-5 program. We're going to replace it with the Trump Gold Card, which is really a green card gold. So they'll be able to pay $5 million to the U.S. government. They'll have to go
That's
through vetting.
wild.
Of course. We're going to make sure they're wonderful, world-class global citizens. They can come to America. The president can give them a green card, and they can invest in America, and we can use that money.
All right, check this out. So if 15,000 people apply and get the $5 million gold card, it's the updated version of the green card. So $5 million, and then they can become a citizen, right? So with 15,000 people signing up, that's $75 billion. And I'm assuming that would go to the sovereign wealth fund that Trump created. So that's above tariffs. That's crazy.
To reduce our deficit. Why do we give out lotteries of green cards? Why
Hey,
do
that's
we give out
true.
EB?
That's true. You could start paying off the debt. Why do we give them for free? Everybody wants to move here. Yeah, supply and demand, right?
5 for green cards. The President of the United States understands that the right answer is, why don't we eliminate the deficit of the United States of America instead?
Wealthy people get fast tracked. They don't draw on assistance and pay taxes. Exactly. Dude, you get it. That's such a great idea. And that's just one example. I feel like he's gonna monetize absolutely everything.
The gold card,
So exciting.
well, millions, but the gold card will bring in with it people that create jobs,
So smart.
very high-level people. I think companies will pay to get people in. For instance, you today graduate from the Wharton School of Finance or Harvard or Stanford or any college, and nobody knows if you can even go to work for a company. So Apple and all these companies that want to get people to be working for them.
Dude, that means if they want to bring like an H-1B or like a top level person, the company like Apple would have to pay the $5 million for their employee to move to America, pretty much. That's
Be able
crazy.
to buy a card, and if for the people that are number one in their class at top schools, I see that as one of the things. But generally speaking, it'll be people with money and people that create jobs, and they won't have to pay any tax on income outside of the United States, which they're not paying right now. They're not citizens, but they'll have to pay if they create jobs in the United States. They'll pay full taxes like everybody else. So you're getting big taxpayers, big job producers.
Dude,
and
you're getting double the money that way. The next step is, if enough people come, only they should pay, and actually, I don't know how that would work, but yeah, American citizens slowly should pay less taxes.
Be able to sell.
And then eventually just eliminate the IRS.
Maybe 1 million of these cards, maybe more than that.
This is, I guess, what his idea was with the ERS, the External Revenue Service. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of more announcements similar to this.
And if you add up the numbers, they're pretty good. As an example, 1 million cards would be worth $5 trillion.
Yeah,
$5 trillion.
Wow. $5 trillion for 1 million citizens. Biden already let in 20 million illegal. So imagine you let in 20 million legal, rich. Well, I mean, not that many people have that much money, but still, that's wild.
And if you sell 10 million of the cards, that's a total of $50 trillion. Well, we have 35 trillion in debt. That'd be nice. So we'll see. But
yeah, it is a lot, but also it gives people kind of a goal that this is how much I have to hit to move here.
it could be great. Maybe it will be fantastic.
And also, it kind of like, it was kind of considered the American dream, right? But if it's too easy to come here, then it's not worth the same. But if you have to grind it out for years just to get enough to move here and become a citizen, like, it makes it that much more precious.
all worked out from the legal standpoint.
Exactly.
It's totally legal to do.
Exactly.
Hasn't been done before.
Exactly. The IRS should have already been eliminated, but within this term, it needs to be eliminated.
But it's been done in many different forms. We give them away. Why should we give them away? We shouldn't give them away. And I think it's something very exciting. I think it's potentially
Folk
just
you, are you
something that
from
we're all very
you live in
excited
America?
about. So it's a gold card. It's somewhat like a green card, but at a higher level of sophistication. It's a road to citizenship for people. And essentially people of wealth or people of great talent, where people of wealth pay for those people of talent to get in, meaning companies will pay for people to get in and to have long-term status in the country. And I think it's something we're very, very happy about. Would you have anything to say about that?
Well, many other countries, by the way, do this, including, of course, your 51st state does that.
Dude, they keep throwing that out there. I'm sorry, at first, to the Canadian followers, I know. At first, I was like, it's never gonna happen. But they keep saying it so much, I'm like, why would you say it if it's not gonna happen?
Is earmarked for deficit reduction?
It may be earmarked for deficit, but it actually could be more money than that. I mean, if you did 10 million, you'd have $15 trillion left over. But generally, it's going to be paid down debt, yes.
Do you need Congress for this? Do you think you need them
No,
to
we
pass
don't
a
You know
law?
what that
Congress,
means
no.
too, right? That means a lot of the money that Doge is saving, how they're saying they want to give a certain percentage back to the citizens, that seems way more plausible now. Because at first I was like, well, if you're going to find the waste, might as well pay off the country's debt, right? But now if you have this income, plus I'm sure he's going to make other income, the $500 billion from Zelensky, yeah, this is crazy. He's only getting started. He's starting to cook. He's cooking.
Because we're not doing citizenship. We're
That's
doing
wild.
I see.
the card. It's a path to citizenship.
Oh, so
very strong
it's
path.
not even citizenship. It's just like the beginning path of citizenship.
But we're not doing the citizenship. For that, I'd have to get Congress.
And would all countries be
Hey,
eligible
what's up,
for
Orca? Orca, listen to this. Listen to this. You're not gonna like this. So earlier, one of the reporters was talking to Trump, and he said, hey, so there's this movement in I think it's Alberta, saying that if Mark Carney wins, they want to secede away from Canada. So Trump's not even taking over. Some of your provinces might just want to join America. And then he just announced if someone wants to become a citizen, like not a citizen, a green card, but it's a gold card, kind of like a fast track citizenship, he's going to charge $5 million per person. And yeah, it's going to make us a lot of money.
Depends. The countries largely, the people will be vetted very carefully.
Mr. President, on Ukraine, would you provide military support for Ukraine in the future under a peace agreement?
Say it again louder.
Would you
Yeah,
provide
I am going to
military
stream the liberal debate.
support for Ukraine in
Oh,
the
so you
future
are from Canada.
You mean like
Everyone that
security?
watches is
Yeah.
from
Well, people
Canada.
are going to
That's
do it.
pretty
I think
crazy.
Europe will largely be responsible for that.
But
European countries will be responsible.
But Macron asked for a U.S. backup.
Well, we'll see. I mean, right now we're just in the process of negotiating. We've pretty much negotiated our deal on raw earth and various other things. We'll be looking at that security. You're talking about general security for Ukraine later on. I don't think that's going to be a problem. There are a lot of people that want to do it. And I spoke with Russia about it. They didn't seem to have a problem with it. So I think they understand. They're not going back in. Once we do this, they're not going back in.
On that gold card,
Aircraft. Would the U.S. provide, for instance, air defense?
Well, I just told you, right now we're not providing anything. You know, it's about Europe too. Europe put in $100 billion, and we put in $350 billion. It's not a fair thing.
So he's
You know,
he's saying since Europe put less, maybe Europe should go secure it, and then we'll just collect the money.
We would normally say, and I say it now anyway, but we want equalization. They should put up actually more money than us because they're right there.
It's
We have
okay.
enough-
If Donald Trump stops providing for Ukraine, your guys as a supreme leader, Justin Trudeau, will just offer your entire military budget to Sir Vladimir Zelensky.
ocean in between. But we've had very good talks with Russia. We've had very good talks with Ukraine, and we think it maybe will come to an end and we'll stop killing young people all over
Maybe it
the
was Alberta then.
battlefield and elsewhere.
On Europe, so do you plan to maintain heavy military presence in Europe in the long term, like tens of thousands of troops? or
We'll be
you won't
involved.
withdraw some?
Yeah, we'll be involved in Europe. We're involved in Europe now. Europe is our friend. They took advantage of us on trade. We don't like that, what the EU does. We don't like that. But we'll solve that the old-fashioned way. We'll give them the
Negotiate.
same reciprocal numbers. You know, we're talking about a reciprocal tax, you know that. And if they charge us, we charge them. Right now, they charge us much, much more than we charge them. And they have non-monetary taxes also and tariffs. And we're going to change that. It's all changing. It's all changing. We're not going to be the people that
Guys,
we were.
I can't focus. I'm still thinking of this gold card he's offering. If what did he say? If 1 million people get accepted to the gold card, that's like what did he say? $7 trillion, and that'll be axed straight off our $36 trillion debt. So if they do that within a year, that'll be 6 trillion minus another 6 trillion. Within his 4 years, the debt might be paid off.
We had people in this office sitting right at this desk or another model of this desk.
God, imagine if Canada did that. Maybe not like 5 million. Yeah, you guys could probably do 5 million or 2.5 million. Not letting 1 million, but like 100,000, and your guys' debt is like nothing compared to
As
ours.
you know, the other desk is right now being refurbished.
Is Steve Witkoff delaying his trip to the Middle East and
No, not that I know of. No, Steve. And the Middle East has been great. Saudi Arabia has treated us really well. They really have. And I think Qatar has treated us very well too. They want to get that whole mess.
Yeah, I think Trump also sees how like Saudi Arabia, Dubai, all those places build this massive real estate. He's probably eyeballing them to come make some investments here.
Did in the Middle East. You know, we don't even talk about that anymore. You guys haven't asked one question about the Middle East, but the Middle East seems to be doing relatively well.
May I ask about the Middle East, sir, about the Middle East? For months, even before you were elected in November, you've spoken about your desire to free all of those hostages that have been held by Hamas since October the 7th, a year and a half ago. And just a few weeks ago, you gave an ultimatum. You said if they're not all released by noon on February the 15th, there would be
Interesting
hell to
questions.
pay. Is Hamas thumbing their nose at you, Mr. President?
No, I think the opposite. So, as you know, they weren't going to release any more hostages. And I said there's going to be hell to pay, and then they agreed that they were going
He's
to
just
release.
bargaining. He's just bargaining for peace. But I don't like his plan of removing the people from Gaza. So I'm just curious to see what happens with that. I think maybe at the end, once everything is done, there's going to be a two-state solution. But just like everything, I don't know, he's just a hard negotiator.
Release the hostages that they had agreed to release, plus an extra one.
Kind of like
And,
Ukraine. At first, he was
so
like,
that you could say
it
that
seemed
was
like
a
he was
big
just going
difference,
to
but,
ally with
I said
straight up just
from
Russia.
that point, it's up to
But now it
Bibi
just seems like he's trying to make
Netanyahu
deals
and
with
Israel.
everybody so
I
U.S.
may
can
have
get
taken a
rich.
different stance. But they did release, they went back to releasing the hostages. But if you remember, they said we weren't going to release any. They've totally ended it. And I said, well, they're not going to release any. They'll be held to pay. And but the rest is really up to him. What I may have done it differently than him. It's not my decision, it's his decision. But they did release all of those hostages. So.
Mr. President, when you spoke to Vladimir Putin, did he raise or did you discuss at all the possibility of a minerals deal on the Ukrainian land that Russia now controls?
I didn't
striking a
discuss
deal with
it,
Russia?
no.
Oh yeah, I
Like to buy
heard
mineral.
U.S. is also making a deal with Russia to buy $2 million worth of aluminum, and apparently that would stabilize the price of aluminum. So he's trying to make economic deals with both countries and then trying to make peace, get them both better off, make us better off. Hopefully Europe can join in and get them good, Canada, everyone.
On
Carney
Russian
didn't do
land
well in the
too.
debate. Failed yeah.
If we
There was controversy about, in French, he said that he supports Hamas and what they're doing, but then I think he was trying to say that they're in agreement with how they feel about Hamas, and he answered like one question in English.
Yeah, the rare earth. They have very good rare earth also. They both do. I would say that. And oil and gas. Look, it's a great thing if we sell this. It's great for Russia too, because we can do deals there. They have very valuable land that isn't utilized. So
I
something
heard
like
Russia also wants to partner with U.S. to do some kind of investment in Siberia and another part of Russia with energy and gas.
that could take place. Yeah.
Have you put raising or lifting sanctions against Russia on the table as your
No, we haven't lifted any sanctions on
Is it
anybody.
on the table as part of any negotiation?
I guess it will be at some point, but right now.
By the way, my alias is pronounced FOQ tube. Oh, okay. I already said it.
Yeah, possibly. Hey,
Oops.
I know some Russian oligarchs that are very nice people. It's possible. They're not quite as wealthy as they used to be. They're not as wealthy as they used to
After
be.
those sanctions.
I think they can afford. I think they can afford $5 million.
So they have
No, a lot of people are going to want
Yet they
to.
would be eligible.
A lot of people are going to want to be in this country, and they'll be able to work and provide jobs and build companies.
That's the
and pay-
exciting part for me. Like, not only are they gonna move here, but if only the rich people are moving here, they probably have a business. They're rich. They're gonna start something here. They're not just gonna chill. So that's gonna be so much more jobs for Americans, construction, building. Plus, if you have like tourist areas, those places are gonna be slam packed.
Taxes, all of those things. It's an incredible thing. I mean, this is the group that is the first to hear it. Nobody's heard about it. Nobody ever thought about it. But we've been thinking about it very, very strongly over the last week.
Very, very
And
strongly.
I was going to announce it sometime next week, and I figure, why not? We have a lot of cameras blazing right now. We might as well do it now. We'll have Caroline announce it the next time. No, it's a great thing. The gold card. Remember the words. The gold card. Somebody said, "Can we call it the?"
Yeah,
Trump?
don't worry. What's her name protected him. They all protected him. They all jumped in.
Gold card. I said,
"Oh,
if
don't
it
worry."
helps,
That's not
use
what he
the
meant.
name
That's
Trump.
not
I'll
what he
give
meant.
it to you for free.
I like it.
If it was Pierre, they'd be like, "Why'd you say that?"
Like Russian oligarchs, you know,
I
or
know.
don't
Isn't
know?
it interesting how many stories we do tell? And they all turn out to be
I like
true.
that dude in
and
the
they all
bag.
turn
He
out
laughs
to be
at everything.
ultimately correct. You know, Trump was right about everything. Do you have one of those Trump was right about everything hats? I'm going to give it to this gentleman. Get me one of them.
But they're all going to be vetted. Everybody who comes in gets vetted, okay? They get vetted, so you got to, you know. We're going to begin in 2 weeks.
2
About 2
weeks.
weeks. The sale will start in about 2 weeks.
2 weeks. They're gonna start selling gold cards. Are you guys gonna buy some if Carney wins?
I hope so. I mean, look, I think that we want to get that country back on its feet. And right now, it's been destroyed. It's so low. Here, give me this. Here, give me all of them. Look. See that?
I need to buy one of those.
Trump was right about everything.
It's a little
Just
bit
came
long,
in.
but
Somebody said, I said, this was sent in by a fan. I said, I think we should make some of them, right? But we were pretty much. You want one?
I'll pass.
Are
it
you
on.
allowed to take one?
Probably
Because
not.
he'll consider it. I know him
I
well.
want one of those.
He's sort of a stiff.
RFK's just
Brian, you're not a
standing back
stiff.
there like
He's
this.
sort of a stiff guy. You know? He'll take other things, but not a free hand.
Always say yes to the president. Always say yes to the
Would
president.
anybody like one?
Mr. President, an easy question perhaps for you, maybe it's difficult. I'm going to ask you this question about the
Who do
Super
you work
Bowl.
for?
I work for 2 news organizations.
Who?
I work for 2 news organizations.
Yeah, who are they?
I work for Gray Television, America's second largest broadcaster, and I work for iHeartRadio. So there you go. But let me ask you the easier, tough question, Mr. President. The Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl. Are they being extended an invitation?
They will be. We haven't yet, but we will be. I thought it was a great.
I hope it happens.
Perform-
I hope it happens. I just want to see every team go to the White House. Hey, I have a question for you Canadians. Since the Canadian hockey team won, do they visit Trudeau and have like a press conference or something?
Performance by them, and absolutely they'll be extended that invitation. Would you do that right away? By the way, we'll do it right away. We're going to do it sometime today, and they deserve to be down here, and we hope to see them. We have a lot of teams. We just had the great hockey team, as you know,
There you
Florida come here. We have many of the great athletes come that win things.
What's the main obstacle holding up this PGA Tour Live Golf?
Well, they have to get together. You know, they've had a lot of discussion back and forth. They both are meaning well, and a deal will ultimately happen. I think it'll happen pretty quickly. It'll be nice to see the golfers, the best golfers, be able to play against each other.
What's your role been in this whole process?
Just to help expedite it. Tiger was here. Adam
He's
Scott
just making deals he doesn't even have to make at this point, just out of pleasure.
was here. Jay Monahan was here the other day. Just to really help expedite it. We had Yasser here from Saudi Arabia, great guy. These are all great people. and they want to work it out. So if I can help them
Yeah,
work it
no,
out.
the way they were talking about Pierre Polyev yesterday on stage was nuts. It was making me angry. Because I hear what Pierre's saying, and then they attack him like he's some bad guy, and I'm like, he's just saying what Canadians want to hear.
I don't get anything out of it. If I can help them work it out. I just think golf, it's very much of an individual sport, and you want to see the best players playing against each other, not playing in two different
I don't watch
locations.
golf, so I don't give
What's
a
going to be more
shite.
challenging, a PGA Live deal or a Russia-Ukraine deal?
I think the PGA deal is much more complicated.
Sir, may I ask you the Middle East question, if I may? What's your take on what's happening in the West Bank and what Israel is
Well,
doing
it's
there?
some movement up there that a lot of people are concerned about. And there's been a lot of Israeli movement. They're up there for a reason. All of a sudden, maybe they're not feeling so good about that. So that would be terrible. I hope that doesn't happen.
Whoa,
But,
whoa. Is he going against Netanyahu's wishes?
There is movement up there that nobody knew about. Right? You know that, right?
Yeah, and when you say, are you concerned about it as well?
I'm concerned about everything. I want the world to be peaceful. You know, when I left here, we had no war. We had defeated ISIS
That's a
in
different tone.
less than 4 weeks.
That's a
In fact,
different tone than what he had towards Gaza. Like, I don't know if it means anything, but to me, the way he described that was not positive at all.
I took the general that defeated ISIS and I put him in charge of the whole ball game, because that's what we want. We want winners. Raisin Cane, you know, Raisin. When I heard that name, I said, I like that name. That's the kind
Yeah,
of
it's
general
annoying
I-
when they talk about Pierre too, especially when he's not there. And then more than half the questions were just centered around Trump.
like. So we'll see. But he was great. He's a great soldier.
I've noticed when Pierre gets asked a question about Trump, he'll talk about it a little bit, but then he'll change the topic to be more about Canada and how this will benefit Canada. The others just want to say they're gonna go to war with Trump, or the janitor looking guy was like, yeah, he's like, I'm a businessman, I think we can get along. It's like, you don't know that. Trump doesn't even know you exist.
Not a politician, a soldier, a real soldier. You know that, Brian. This guy was the real. This guy's the.
I've heard that story a million times.
Yeah, this guy's the real deal.
He is.
And I think he's going to do a great job. But think of it, we had no wars, we had no problems, we had no inflation, we had no problems. And then all of a sudden you have October 7th in Israel, which was horrible. And then you see what happened with Ukraine. Russia would have never gone in if the election
If
weren't
Trump
rigged.
was president, Justin Trudeau would never be able to send all your guys' taxpayer money to Ukraine.
It was a rigged election. The 2020 election was rigged, and we got out of it.
Trump would have
And you
saved Canada so much money.
See what happened. You see what happened to our country. Inflation, Afghanistan, that horrible withdrawal from Afghanistan. I think when Russia saw what happened in Afghanistan, they said,
Afghanistanis.
wow, it's a paper tiger. We're not a paper tiger. We are the strongest military force in the world. And by the way, Pete Hegseth is doing a great job. But we didn't have wars. We didn't have inflation. We had a strong border. We had everything going good. And then Biden got in, and he's, my opinion, the worst president in the history of our country. I think Jimmy Carter was a very
I would have to agree, but I haven't been paying attention that much since Trump.
happy man when he passed away.
Trump was the first
2 weeks
president I
ago.
paid attention to.
It's going to be a cabinet meeting, and I'll preside. Unlike Biden, I'll preside over my own cabinet meeting.
Mr. President, how would you compare your cabinet in your second term to your cabinet that you had in your first term?
Well, I had some great people my second term. I think this is deeper. I think
First
it's
term,
better
you mean, sir?
because it's deeper. I had some people that I didn't really like too much in my cabinet.
Yeah, last time, the
but I
first
didn't
time
know-
he became president, a lot of the choices for cabinet members, and he has to appoint like 10,000 individuals, and he didn't know that many bureaucrats, so he had to rely on others to give him recommendations, and you know how that goes. Some people have ulterior motives. They were getting, so there was a lot of swamp back then. Now it's mostly his. What the hell? Now it's just mostly his guys.
Washington, but I was a New York
Hold
person.
on.
I knew New
There we
York
go.
intimately, but I had to rely on people. I had great people. Look, we got the biggest tax cuts in history. I rebuilt the military.
Let's get rid of the IRS, please. If you do that, if Trump does that, he needs his face on Mount Rushmore.
But we did so much. We did unbelievable. Even right to try. Somebody was saying today they were saved by right to try. We did right to try medically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He made some mistakes. He'll still make mistakes, but he's a lot better he's a lot more even-keeled this time.
We did transparency medically. That was a big thing, but Biden can't.
Have you noticed his tone is a lot different too? A lot of his interviews now are really boring, but back in 2016 he was like, "Pa pa pa." He was going at everybody, calling people dogs.
So that one. He didn't cancel right to try, which is interesting. He didn't cancel Space Force. He was going to cancel Space Force. Yeah. Space Force is turning out to be invaluable. Amazing. We created Space Force.
Hey guys, 11 people in here. Can we get a couple likes? And thanks for watching.
But think of it. We rebuilt our entire military, and now we're going to have to patch it up a little bit again because of the...
Yeah, because, Biden sent all our ammo, all our weapons to Ukraine. He left a lot of stuff in Afghanistan. It's almost as if he was purposefully trying to make us weaker, right?
What's happened? No, this was a grossly incompetent administration. The only thing they were good at was cheating in elections and the weaponization of government.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right, I just want to look up Trump's gold card and see if anyone's talking about it. Trump's gold card. Probably not. He just announced it, so. President Trump, Russian oligarchs could qualify. Of course they're flipping out over that. Alright, let me just watch it one more time. I want to hear. This is French news reacting to it. Dude, I just thought about this too. Think about all the European countries that have far left governments and the people there don't like it anymore. And their taxes are really high, and the green energy. So imagine a lot of those people are going to end up leaving Europe to come to America because, yeah, Trump's going to get energy low. He's bringing taxes, corporate tax. Everything's going to be better here. A lot of people are going to leave, and then those countries' economies are going to shatter even more than they already have. Like Germany. I'm thinking of Germany.
New pathway to citizenship comes as the Trump administration cracks down on immigration into the United States. The U.S. president says he's to sell gold residency permits at a price of $5 million to so-called high-level people who create jobs.
I bet they're going to complain that he said Russian oligarchs might apply.
We're going to be selling a gold card. You have a green card. This is a gold card. We're going to be putting a price on that card of about $5 million.
Brandon. You know that from Canada? Let's go, Brandon.
And that's going to give you green card privileges plus.
Would a Russian oligarch be eligible for a gold card?
Yeah, possibly. Hey, I know some Russian oligarchs that are very nice people. It's possible.
It's okay.
They're not quite as wealthy as they used to be. They're not as wealthy as they used to be. I think they can afford. I think they can afford $5 million.
For more on that plan, let's cross live now to Fraser Jackson, our correspondent in Washington. So, Fraser, we heard there from Donald Trump, Russian oligarchs may be eligible. What more do we know?
Oh, it said in the title.
Yeah, this is going to be ringing alarm bells for people like Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren on the progressive side of the political side here in the United States.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders had an interview with Jagmeet.
Who say that the oligarchy is already underway in America. Well, I think it's fair to say that it will be ringing alarm bells in their heads this evening. Donald Trump saying on Tuesday he wants to begin selling what he's calling a gold card for $5 million to foreigners who want to move to the US and create jobs. Now, this gold card would give people green card privileges, which is the current card, which effectively is permanent residency in the United States. It also gives
it's not even citizenship, it's just permanent residency.
People a pathway to citizenship citizenship
And a
in the United
pathway.
States as well, which of course comes with the added benefit of being able to vote and not just pay taxes. But he also said wealthy people will be coming into our country by buying this card. They'll be
$5
wealthy,
million
they'll
per
be
card.
successful,
It's like a green
and they'll be
card.
spending a lot of money and paying a lot of taxes and employing a lot of people. And we think it's going to be extremely successful. Well, as you heard there, Donald Trump said the immigration program, which he said was legal,
And
would
the most important part, there's going to be strict vetting involved. You can't just pretend and just come in.
be open potentially to possible Russian oligarchs. He said that they could potentially qualify for the gold cards. He said that he expects this program to be up and running in about 2 weeks. Now, it should be noted that there is already a similar program in effect here in the United States. It's called the EB-5 Immigrant Investor Visa. And if you remember, during the first term, Donald Trump said that he was going to be raising the minimum for that card from 1 million to 1.8 million.
Now it's at
well, that
5.
entire system is now being scrapped entirely and seemingly replaced by this gold card system where the buy-in fee is effectively $5 million. It's also not only a US kind of thing. We have seen this in multiple other countries around the world. It exists in Canada. It also exists places closer to home in the UK. In the EU rather, like places like Spain, Portugal, and Malta as well. So nothing completely new here from Donald Trump. Effectively, just raising the bar that it costs to get into the United States. But the line about the oligarchy will likely be picked up upon by the more progressive parts of the United States political spectrum.
Fraser Jackson, for now, thank you so much. That's Fraser joining us live from Washington.
All right, guys. I think that will be it for right now. I'll be back later with the Canada debates, and I'm gonna be watching the Jagmeet Singh, talking with Bernie, and I'll see what else I can find, whatever else interests me. There was a birthright citizenship under debate thing from an hour ago, 2 hours long. Might watch that. Let's go to watch later. But yeah, this is so crazy. $5 million for expedited citizenship, or pathway to citizenship and a pathway to permanent residency.